Welcome, everybody. Welcome to your own time and space. Welcome to this shared, as much as anything can be shared, experience. Encouragement for the first 15 minutes or so is to get yourself comfortable. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Because the way things are is like this. The knowing is like this. A few minutes of settling and stillness, a breath, recollecting, reconnecting, settling. Knowing this knowing, gathering, receiving life, giving life, knowing life, wishing well. Life wishes, seeks the best. Practicing this realization the whole of the experience, the whole of the body experience. The emotional experience, the knowing, the breath, soft, the abdomen rising on the in-breath, releasing the out-breath, the neutral sensations, any strong sensations, the emotions, the tone, and the knowing. The knowing knows the pulling and pushing of habits and experiences as we pull and push them, trusting the knowing, the gift of attention, no demanding, experience the neutral, collected There's a sensitivity and aliveness. It's unshaken. A practice. Enjoy. Interest. And allowing forgiving. It's like this. The body and the experience. The present. Collected experience. The knowing of this knowing. the whole of the body breathing, the whole of the breath, the knowing, reconnecting, recollecting, gathering. In this training, this practice, this experience. And an ending, the knowing of an ending. And a light review. Things are not lost. From a sense of wanting to be relevant, from a sense of not knowing, I'm intended and voiced a question today, and that was the making of some Dhamma. I asked, what did people want to hear about today? And the echo I got back was, I enjoyed your discussions about our discussions about karma. So I find karma leads to more karma, and intentions have results. And this word karma is given a special meaning by the Lord Buddha, like a few words that were around. The Buddha gave a special meaning to karma, a special emphasis to karma, and a special way of relating to the tool, the idea that is karma as a concept. Because the basis of the Buddha's teaching is if the causes and conditions for something are there, the thing will exist. And if the causes and conditions for something are not there, the thing will not exist. That's the basis. That's a summary. So we have causes and conditions, and for how we use that basic teaching, and then how we use the breakdown of that basic teaching and how we relate to it is it's how we relate to this tool, which is or these tools, which are what ideas are. Ideas are tools, and tools have a purpose, and sometimes they can be used skillfully, and sometimes they can be used unskillfully. Knives can be used to chop vegetables, or do surgery, or to stab people, or to cut yourself by mistake. So when I use that idea when I relate to ideas. So how I use ideas is the question. So this idea of causality, causes and conditions, it gives the possibility for training, and the role of Dhamma in that it gives a sense of uplift, because it allows things to be possible. And the different types of causality for convenience, not because there's somehow absolute classifications, and recognizing that they're all part of this whole thing called causality. For convenience can be traditionally 4 plus 1, 4 plus the container, so 5. So you have the causality that is around just physical things, that is nothing, just has its own rhythm, the rhythm of gravity, the rhythm of the weather, the rhythm of the cause and effect of pushing something, and mass, and this sort of aspect of causality, which has its own mechanisms, which can be examined and explained. And that's one aspect of causality. And then, of course, I've said that there are 4, so with plus 1 container. And for the next one, they cause, the way that it's described is, that first one's called Utta Niyama. Utta Niyama. Uttu Niyama. And the next one is called Bija Niyama, which is about seeds. How seeds work. Oh, if you plant a particular seed, there'll be a particular result. Like the way that genetics maybe works, the way that things grow. That aspect of causality. And as I mentioned, the two are, everything is related. It's just a way of conveniently classifying stuff. So Obviously, the way that things are planted and the physical conditions they're planted in, they're related. So how things work and they interrelate. And then the next one is called Chitta Niyama, and that's the one that we're least really familiar with, I think, nowadays. It's the one that allows things like psychic powers to work. The way that all the different ways that psychic powers, which are described in the scriptures, work is through Chitta Niyama, the power of the Chitta to manipulate in maybe magical, so-called magical ways, which are at the time of the Buddha, and even for some people today in different parts of the world, are taken for granted. And things that allow beings to walk on water, to walk through walls, to be able to have different types of psychic powers to do things. And this is called Chitta Niyama. And of course, that would have an effect also on Bija Niyama and Utta Niyama, and Utta Niyama and Bija Niyama would have an effect on Chitta Niyama. So it's not that they're exclusive, they are all part of this thing called causality. And now we come to the one that we're stuck with, Kamma Niyama, which is the way that intention works. Intention. And that's where the humans have the greatest power. Humans have the greatest power for intending something. And this was the aspect of kamma that the Buddha really stressed. And intentions are important. And figuring out what intentions are being generated, because humans generate a lot of intentions. A lot of them are unconscious, and then they can be made conscious. And knowing what those intentions are, they have an effect on the Chitta Niyama, the Ujja Niyama, and the Uttu Niyama. So they have an effect on the Chitta, on the way that genetics works, and on the way physical things work, because humans can do things. They can, the intentions can affect the way that the thinking works, and the way that the speech works, the way that the body works, and all of that can affect the way that the genetics work in one's universe, and the way that the physical things work in one's universe. So this is how this is the way the mechanism works, and then also the physical things and the genetic things and the Chitta things will affect how the karma works. So they relate forwards, backwards, sideways, and interrelate all together. And that's the fact that there is causality. There is causality. This is a way of thinking that allows us to think, well, we can train. The ways of using that idea of kamma which are not so skillful to stress a lot on effects, because there's kamma creation and then there's the effects of kamma. And if one just looks at the effects of kamma and then tries to understand what caused it, then you're going to get probably confused, because you cannot really figure out what the effect of something, the effect that you notice or see or try to explain, how it's related to kamma, how it's related to bija, how it's related to utu, and how it's related to chitta, and trying to untangle that, and trying to understand that, and trying to understand the whole of kamma. The scriptures say, the Buddha said, it will make your head explode. And I think sometimes people take this, maybe as a metaphor or as a way of just excusing the Lord Buddha, some of these stories or things that come up in the scriptures. But for a moment, just think, well, maybe it is that way. So allow yourself to be amazed. And when you recognize that, one of the stories is about how fortunate a human birth is. And you have the story of a blind turtle that comes to the surface of the ocean once every 100 years. And you have a ring or a circle or a tire or something that's floating on the ocean, on all the oceans of all the oceans on the planet. And it's being tossed and turned by the various forces that work on the ocean. And you have this blind turtle coming up once every 100 years. And the chances of a human birth are the same as the chances of the opportunity for that turtle to put his head through that floating thing. You think, well, there's so many humans, that can't be that. No. But maybe it's true. Maybe the Buddha and the patriarchs, they did not lie. You're making an accusation that these people were intentionally trying to deceive you. I sometimes think not. I hope that it's in a way of encouraging you to figure out that this human birth is valuable. This opportunity to make Dhamma is powerful. The Dhamma starts with the intention. And the intention, as I say, some are unconscious and some are conscious. And it's not a blaming or anything like that, but it's a recognition that you can actually train this intention. And when you think and when you say, when you intend and actually put some aspiration into it, may all beings be well, born and to be born. That's a karma. That's an action. And that's a thought. And a recognition that is something that has, it's not an unknown thought. It's something it's actually quite common. So that's it. That's a helpful thought. And you start to recognize that, intentionally thinking something generates a cause. Now, it's not enough, because just thinking may all beings be well won't actually make all beings well. But it's a start. And not to worry about the thoughts that just come and go, and the bits that don't have much, and how much karma can be created in a dream, which is not enough, really. It's called insignificant. And using using this tool or this idea of karma as a weapon or as a way of blaming or as an excuse is a way of misusing the tool. As a weapon, you can use it to attack yourself or attack others and say, well, it's their karma or it's my karma. I deserve this. Or they deserve it. It's just their karma. You don't know. And then to use this as an excuse, oh, it's just my karma. I can't do anything about it. Yeah. Or to, or to use it as a way of reckoning, well, eventually it'll all end. I don't mind. Eventually it'll all end. Karma is not going to work like that. It won't liberate with those sorts of ways of viewing it. You just damage yourself and damage others and damage the whole thing. So, with karma, just careful what you intend, careful the direction you point yourself in, careful with what's going on in your heart. And the main thing about it all, the thing to really take to heart, is don't take it personally. It's not your karma. Sorry. If you think it's my karma or it's their karma, you're just complicating it. It's just karma. It's just part of the causes and conditions. Keep cool about it. Don't worry about whether it's my karma or their karma, or whether there's group karma or whether there's karma that is it's just all just impersonal causes and conditions. Now the freedom is in this use of this tool to generate blessings, and particularly to practice karma that leads to the end of karma. And that's any practice of the Eightfold Path at almost any level, at any level. If you practice the Eightfold Path, with the practice of the Eightfold Path is karma that leads to the end of karma. And what happens at the end of karma? People like to know, what happens to me? There's no, that whole worrying about me is making more problems for yourself and others. Poor little me, I need to get to my end of my karma. You'll chase your tail, like one of those crazy dogs or cats that just keep chasing their tail. It's just go round and round and round. The insight into the Four Noble Truths is karma that leads to the end of karma. The realization that dukkha and the way to relate to it is to understand it. The path is to practice. The cause is to be abandoned. And the end is to be realized. That is the, that is the, and then what happens? It's not a problem. It's not going to be a problem once the path is practiced. It's the awakening is to this sense of, I'm doing something. I need to do something. Because it's not I that does the right thing. It's just allowing karma to just be in tune with the Dhamma, to be in tune with that which is here and now, outside of time, and beautiful, inviting, leading to and realizing a sense of peace and realizable, known, each wise person for themselves, so that the things are left to work out just as they work out. You're having the space around them so that extra stress is not generated, so that there's not causes for more dukkha for oneself and others. Doing the best one can within that is though it's about good enough. We're not trying to say that I'm going to become a perfect person, because that's a nonsense, and it's a stressful experience for everybody. It's a generating of more stress. Finding the best, the bestest as against the worstest relationship with whoever or with whatever. Just the good enough that generates least amount of problems for oneself and others now and in the future, in this strange thing that we call time and space and personality for convenience. It's a convenience. It's not something that's absolute. The absolute is that there are causes and conditions. When the causes and conditions for something will be there, the thing will be there. And when the causes and conditions for something are not there, the thing will not be there. And in that, there's the whole reflection of what is unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, and unformed. And where does that stopping, where's that? Unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, and unformed. And then allowing that, because, the statement that's recorded is that if there wasn't that unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, and unformed, then escape from the born, the originated, the created, and the formed would not be possible. But because there is an unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, and unformed, therefore, because of that, escape is possible from the born, the originated, the created, and the formed. And that's the promise. That's the statement. And so it's worthy of contemplation and consideration. The way that won't lead to your head exploding contemplating that. It would be to that's the sense of personality seen in its true light as a condition that's come about due to Utu niyama, Bija niyama, Chitta niyama, Kamma niyama. It's arisen through causes and conditions. And if the causes and conditions for that are not there, then the thing will not be there. Things will be as they are. And if they're expecting the whole thing to be different, hoping that somehow there'll be this perfect realization and this perfect being. I will become this perfect being. I will have this perfect relationship with this perfect world. My world will be... It's a fantasy. It's a dangerous, confusing fantasy. I've got to get rid of all this imperfection. I've got to get rid of all this imperfection. Just got to get rid of it. Can't stand it anymore. I just have to. This is just so frustrating, so difficult. Everything's always going wrong for me. It's my karma, and I need to find a way out of it. And there's nothing that and it's they're making their bad karma, and I'm making my karma, and I'm doing the best I can. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And because the heart goes round and round and round in a whirl, and there is no end to that in that. There's no end to that in that. It's chasing a tail. It's like a crazy dog going round and round and round, chasing its tail. Not going to, there's an ease in the knowing of the neutral, the peaceful, familiarizing the experience of knowing and knowing this knowing. Causes and conditions, they come and they go. They're not personal. Karma itself is not a personal problem. That's confusing and limiting and tying down and making more stress. I am trying to make good karma that I can somehow get what I want sometime in the future. And it's my bad karma that I haven't won the lotto today. And don't complicate. There's no need. It's an extra complication to believe that and to make more intentions about that. It's not going to lead to the end of suffering. And do the best one can with where it is. Careful and practice karma that leads to the end of karma. I'm not saying don't practice skillful karma or practice unskillful karma, but it's just the way things work out. But using karma as a weapon or as an excuse to blame other people, or to get caught up in other people's problems, or judging other people about their making bad karma. Well, if you get caught in that, then where's the karma that is being created by saying, well, somebody's making bad karma? What sort of end of suffering is in sight if there's only the noticing of the bad karma that's being created? It's just karma. It's just causes and conditions. There's to appreciate and lift the heart up with that which is beautiful. That's fine. There's a sense of ease and relief at that, not getting stuck to it. But it's all just the way it is. It's the way things are going. So keep going with, practicing karma that leads to the end of karma. And I'll end for now and see what karma is created by the questions that might be coming. Oh, maybe that's the end of questioning. Let's see. thank you, and I hope that I haven't confused matters more for you all. But yeah, I'm sure that you'll forgive me. And if you understand, fine. If you don't, fine. Leave it behind. There's many books about karma that you can read. I just don't want to see any heads exploding or hear of any heads exploding over the next few days. Ciao for now. Any questions, please type them in for everybody. Thank you. No questions today. Aha. The sense of devotion and gratitude is a powerful foundation on which to build up samatha and vipassana. I don't know who that quote is from, but I expect it sounds good enough. I think gratitude I sometimes describe as an aspect of mudita, because it's appreciating and rejoicing in goodness, and it allows the sense of aspiration to be present, which is a sense of one feels one has enough and can aspire to something. So the aspiration is that calm and insight is possible with a sense of openness and fullness. Because when there's a lack of fullness, a sense of lacking, then it's difficult to feel that one can settle, because there's a sense of I need something more. Even I need to get peaceful. If you have that sense of I need to get peaceful, and you keep feeding that sense of I need to get peaceful, then what you're feeding is a sense of I need rather than being peaceful. And I need is you're just making the hole bigger that needs to be filled. The sense of unworthiness bigger that needs to be filled. The sense of I can do this if I can devote. Devotion is like a full giving, because gratitude allows a sense of being able to give as well. Now, careful what you're devoted and grateful for, because that's the object of one's devotion, and gratitude is important. But and not keeping it simple and allowing it to be just causes and conditions and not personal. It's not a personal thing. Even the sense of gratitude and devotion is not personal. It's not me being grateful and me being devoted to something or somebody or some ideal. It's just, this is how gratitude works. This is how devotion works. It sometimes takes an object, but I'd keep it to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, which are wisdom, truth, and virtue, the possibility of awakening to the truth and the possibility to uphold that truth in society. Which is why the test of spiritual progress is in how this thing is in society. as a whole? Is it less confused, less angry, less more generous both to itself and to others, more patient, more willing to bear? No, Subhagamatan can be very peaceful too. A Subhagamatan is very peaceful. No, the noticing somebody's, noticing that when you look at teeth, you're looking at a skeleton, or if they come out, you're looking at a piece of plastic. But it's actually quite peaceful, a Subhagamatan. I was, you need to have metta as well, so you're not dwelling in aversion. But a Subhagamatan is quite peaceful. It's like, this body is not something that belongs to one. It just belongs to nature. It doesn't. It has its own agenda, its own impulses. Well, thank you, Luke. And don't, forgive yourself. And I think it's just causes and conditions. Snappy's not so bad. Karma is not personal. Seems like a paradox. I understand karma to be the process where I keep myself entangled in samsara. How can that not be personal? It's part of the processes that, it's the one that where there is most possibility of freedom, because humans can make but the human form is itself something that is a conventional convenience, and allowing karma to be something that's less taken personally is a way of untangling endless, aimless wandering. That's why the practice of the Eightfold Path, which is the intention and the paradigm, the intent, the volition, the speech, the actions, the livelihood, the effort, the mindfulness, and the concentration is like what's in tune with Dhamma, not what I want. But the question is, what's in tune with the Dhamma? What is the way that will be in tune with what's here and now, outside of time, beautiful or inviting, leading to a sense of peace and realizable each wise person for themselves. So samma, the practice of things that are samma rather than micca. Micca is that which goes against the Dhamma. And in terms of, some people like to say, well, going with the flow. And if the flow is something that is just past habits and past conditioning, and then it'll not lead to something that is helpful. Whereas if the going with the flow is going with the flow of the Dhamma, then that will be helpful. That's what's called entering the stream. So that the whole, and then the Dhamma will protect those that protect the Dhamma. And that's one of the phrases, the Dhamma protects those that protect the Dhamma. Because it protects the sense of taking the whole thing too personally. Because it's just how things are. The way that things work are, if there are causes and conditions for something, the thing will be there. And if the causes and conditions are not there, the thing will not be there. So it's not a personal thing. Ultimately, it's just how things are. And the way out of it, if you want to know where the exit is, it's through the practice of the Eightfold Path, which is that attention inward so that the knowing is known. The chitta that knows the chitta is the way out of it. It's resting in that sense of knowing what this is happening right now, and it's not supposed to be any other way. It's like this. So when I'm hungry, I want to eat cheese and fondue, and I eat it, and this moment there's a rebirth. I can't understand why when we absorb into something, then this is defined as rebirth. Well, because it ends. You get sick. You get fed up with fondue. And it has an ending. They're just different ways of talking about Panya and Vimamsa, just different ways of talking about the same thing, and Vayama and Virya. Virya is more than just the effort, and Vayama is more the sustained and more distinguished. Ajahn, you talked about the total experience of being born as a human. I've heard this many times, but these days there is so much research about reincarnation, interviews with people, and yet they talk about being born, of lessons learned, and so forth, which doesn't make it difficult to be born as, which doesn't sound as if it's difficult to be born as a human being. I'm trying to reconcile these research with the difficulty of being born as a human that we learn in Buddhism. What are your thoughts on this, please? Yeah, I don't know timescales, and I do know these researches about being reborn, and that also even simple things like the Dalai Lama and Rinpoches, which are reborn things, and maybe that sort of thing it is a once the head's through the once the total head's through the yolk that's floating on the ocean, maybe that's the next time it's just part of the thing. I don't know. I don't know how long it took for that turtle to first put its head through the yolk, through the thing floating on the oceans, and I don't know about one lifetime to the next, and how many lifetimes there are before, and how many lifetimes there will be after. I haven't got a clear explanation of that really makes sense. I think that and it doesn't, again, it doesn't need to be so personal. It's just how things are talked about. How many tears have you cried through how many lifetimes, enough to fill the oceans? How many times have the and the if you knew how important stream entry was, you'd be happy to be stabbed 1,000 times with a spear and endure that if that was guaranteeing you stream entry. These sorts of things I think are encouraging. And you can say, well, they're not supposed to be taken literally, but maybe they are. And the idea that, the experience of Rinpoches, or, of knowing their previous rebirths, you can also look at it in terms of, how many times during the day or through the night are you born as a human being? Is your action that of a human? Is the action that of a human being, or is it just the action of an animal? And if you and how you define human behavior. I define sane human behavior as behavior free from greed, hatred, and confusion, free from a sense of neediness, free from a sense of wanting to push away, and free from a sense of personality and me in this. So, and that I recognize that from that most of the behavior that happens here is insane and immature, whereas mature behavior that it doesn't take things personally is maybe fully human. But the human birth is the human birth. Maybe it's about that there's a difference between a human being and a human animal, which is sometimes what some people say. That just having a human body doesn't guarantee a human birth. Maybe that's something to do with it. I that's part of a reflection that I haven't really considered before, but that's maybe part of it. I hope that helps. Considering the knowing of the knowing, can be said that the second knowing is phenomenal in the state of experience. It's first knowing. I'm not sure. I think that the experience of this knowing of the knowing is like a it's not taking a position. It's not it doesn't take a position. It doesn't fix. It just is, and that's making a thought about it more than that. And whatever really works. If your language is not English, then figure a way of using it in whatever language you find yourself using. I don't think you need to be too caught up with trying to label it more. I mean, it's bad enough calling it the knowing of the knowing, or jit hen jit, as they say in Thai. So I know I'm not sure what would be more helpful with that.